We're good? All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call to order the March 28th, 2022 Select Board meeting. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to go through announcements and board openings. For the Hamilton Historic District Commission, we have one opening for a Board of Realtors member. The Capital Committee has one opening. Conservation Commission has one opening. Council on Aging has one opening. Affordable Housing Trust has one opening. Human Rights Commission has one opening for a Housing Authority member. And Hamilton Wenham Recreation Board has one opening for a Hamilton resident.
That sounds like fun.
Now is public comment, which is 3 minutes for topics not already on the agenda. And I'll look in the room here first. I don't think there's anybody. And then Joe, you can let me know if anybody on Zoom is raising their hand.
Nobody on Zoom is raising their hand.
All right, Selectmen, Town Manager reports. I will start. I don't have a lot of reports, but I'm just going to make a 1 minute comment about sort of our town. Right now. I just want to recognize that there seems to be a heightened sense in social media of comments and rhetoric going back. I just want to make everybody remember that we are all volunteers here. We're all volunteering our time for the best interest of the community. I think everybody's entitled to do it, volunteer without sort of being called out for it. So I just want to, hopefully we can calm the rhetoric and appreciate each other for their different opinions. And on this board, we're all very different people, and we all debate issues, and we come to consensus many times. So I think hopefully people can sort of use our board as a model on how we should work together as a community. So that's I want to start at the meeting today, and I'll go to Sean.
I don't have too much today. I am kind of, I guess, in the middle of figuring out, I've done the rain barrel program in town a number of years now, and I've just been in contact with the rep from that company, and I think we're going to be doing it again. And I'm going to include Wenham in it. I just haven't let them know yet. Maybe, Joe, you can let them know that I've put them on the discount. And I think the distribution of those will be on June 18th. We have a DPW, I can't remember what day it is at DPW yard, but a hazardous waste, et cetera, I think, day. So stay tuned for that. Also, the Patent Homestead Study Group met last week. We had another great meeting. We've made some progress. We still, I guess, haven't gone anywhere, but we're kind of still fact-finding and putting numbers and figures together and some scenarios and a lot of brainstorming. So the initial meeting was really good. In this meeting, I think we made a lot of more forward progress on kind of bringing some different ideas and scenarios to the Board of Selectmen in the next handful of months here. I think we're looking at September sometime. Is that right, Joe? September, I think.
I think the first meeting, do you want to have an update in June?
Right, we're going to have an update in June. I think we're going to bring some more kind of concrete things, I think, in September. So if we need to, we can put it into the budget cycle.
Right.
And that's all I have.
That's pretty exciting, Sean. I'm very excited about that. Sue, I just have two things. The love of my life, the senior center, seems to be in very good hands with Teresa Woodbury. Those seniors don't need me anymore, and I feel really happy for them about that. Teresa has that place well underhand, and the seniors they're telling me how happy and excited they are. So I think there was a very good choice to have Teresa come here. And then just the other thing for this week, the Master Plan Steering Committee. I don't know if people have looked at their warrants yet, but on the last page or so, there's a double-sided page of the town survey, so people can fill that out and bring it right along to town meeting with you. It's a very simple survey, and it's, of course, intended to make sure that your voice is heard, because after all, this is the town survey, and any resident in town is really encouraged to participate. And then the other thing regarding the master plan, the steering committee will be giving a brief summary of what's going on at town meeting. And that's it.
Darcy?
Okay, I just want to say that I did go to the Hamilton Wenham Cats last week. We went over last-minute discussions about how we're going to get the word out about the resolution for the climate. That's going to be the last warrant article at this town meeting. So we're going to be looking at ways that we can explain to people why this is such a good move. It's an investment for the town. And we will be meeting with Fincom tomorrow night. Hamilton Wenham Cats, Vicky Missoni, our energy manager, and I. So we're hoping that we can get the Fincom to support this. And the other thing was, I went to the Shabaka Woods meeting last week where I learned about plans for clear cutting. They're going to be blasting and mining for years. I just learned that they're saying the blasting is going to be going on in 2 phases, and after that they're going to be mining gravel and other materials, and it's going to be about a 2 or 3 year slog for all the people who live in that end of town. Hundreds of people's quality of life will be gone. It sounded terrible. So I hope everybody listens to what's actually being discussed and realize that, we're talking about people's lives, property values, quality of life, just about everything that you come to Hamilton to live here for will be attacked while you're living next door to that operation. So I was shocked at the extent of the devastation on the land. So I hope people start listening and going to these meetings. And that's it.
I don't have anything for tonight.
Okay. All right. And then, Joe, you had issued your draft town manager report. Like, the only thing that important to note, obviously, is that COVID is now affecting Verizon. So now they're off to August for a tower. And it's Verizon. There's nothing, we have very little recourse with, because we don't have a contract with them. We're contracted with Everest. And Everest says it's beyond their control. So right now we're looking at an August 22 on-air date for the tower. Because of the delays that were caused by things within this community, now it's dominoed to be at the end of their permit and construction permitting and budgeting. So now we're kicked back to August.
May I make a suggestion going forward on policy? That we should probably put in guardrails and guidelines whenever we come into a situation like this, so that if there's a merger, or say they go out of business, or they lose their funding somehow, that there should be some guidelines in there, so that if any of those things happen, the town can say, okay, we're going to take the contract back and redo it. But we really were not protected in this agreement, and none of those things were considered. So I think maybe going forward, we need to really be aware of what can happen during a change like this.
It was really the litigation that caused this.
Yeah.
It wasn't a change in the contract or a change in the agreement. It was the litigation that put it on hold. So I don't know that we could have controlled that with a policy, but it was really the litigation that caused it to be held up.
So can I just add a little something?
Yeah.
A resident called me, and actually he was way in the know. He had spoken to Everest, and I'll relay what he relayed to me, that the financial reality of the situation was that due to COVID and certainly other circumstances, the Verizon, who we are waiting for to initiate the actual cell tower thing that you put on the tower. I'm sorry, I don't know the nomenclature. But anyhow, I think the issue was that because this was so delayed for various reasons, that they used up their financial allotment for this, and they won't have their next, as you mentioned, Bill, their next fiscal year until August. So that's when they are planning to have it up and running. So I want everybody to know, town has not tried to hold this up. The town has done everything that they could possibly do to get this moving in the right direction. And we all hope, I'm sure everybody out there, certainly even more who are having cell issues, we certainly want this to be up and running. So fingers crossed, August, folks.
Anything else, Joe, you want to point out?
I just, the last item on my town manager report was that free cash was certified by the state at $4.1 million, which is about $500,000 than we had initially estimated.
More?
More.
Or,
Largely due to people that we weren't able to hire during the course of the last fiscal year. Of course, we had a lot of openings, we kept trying to fill them, but the job market was very tight at the time, and many positions didn't go filled until almost December, so that's 6 months of savings on probably 5 or 6 positions, so that really contributed a lot to additional free cash, so.
It's
just
good.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's very good to know.
okay. All right. All right, so we have a consent agenda. We have approved minutes of joint select board and Fincom from January 29th. We have approved minutes of select board meeting from February 7th and February 22nd, as well as approve a banner for the book sale at the Hamilton Council on Aging building.
So moved.
So,
Do I have a second?
can I make a comment just because it might affect your motion? So, Bill, you and I weren't there for the February 22nd meeting, so
Okay.
I don't know if we need to separate that out and vote, and have them vote on that separately.
Yeah, it's probably a good move.
Yep, probably.
So, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the select board meeting from January 29th and the banner for the book sale at Hamilton COA?
And the minutes for select board on February 7th.
And yes, and the February 7th meeting minutes for select board.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I have a second motion to approve the minutes of select board meeting on February 22nd, 2022?
So moved.
And all those in favor, say aye. Oh, sorry, a second.
A second.
Rosie seconded, so we're
Any
good.
And
further
I'll say
discussion?
aye.
Yeah.
Yep, aye.
All those in favor, say aye.
Yes.
All opposed? All abstained?
Abstain?
So Jamie and Bill abstain. Motion passes.
When's the
3.
when's the book sale? I can't remember from the packet, just so we can say that out loud so people at home know.
I'll
See if I can find it.
I'm gonna,
I saw the email in the packet, but there's a lot of minutes before it. Nope. It is.
All right, I have a few things on the agenda tonight for our coming elections and ATM. So we'll start with the Karen Kale and the appointment of poll workers lists.
Thanks. Hi,
Karen.
Corinne Kale, Town Clerk. Thank you for your time. I think you've gotten a commitment from me over and over again, really make sure that the things coming out of the clerk's office and going on in the clerk's office are compliant with various state laws. Over the COVID period of time with elections, with all the laws that kept moving and changing, one of the things that kept changing was the appointment of poll workers, allowing clerks to appoint some or to hire some poll workers directly if there was an incident, if they're in a position where there weren't enough poll workers for a given election. So needless to say, it was a little chaotic. There is a process in law that will be followed starting soon. Over the summer, I'll come back to the board for complete appointment of poll workers going forward. But in the meantime, because in my period of time here, I have never presented to you a list of poll workers. I had inherited what I inherited when I got here, and I thought, given we have the town meeting and town election coming up, it really made perfect sense to put that list in front of you all so that you at least know who they are and who potentially will be working at either of those events. So it was in your packet. These are all workers. And I also cleaned up the list of poll workers. I did send an email or a letter, if I didn't have an email address, to many of the individuals who were on the list that I inherited. And many of them did get back to me and said they were no longer interested. You know, they kind of bowed out during the COVID period and are not interested in coming back. So I was able to clean up a lot of that. But what you have in front of you are 23 names of individuals who have worked in the past, or a few who have stepped forward to ask to work going forward. So again, in the interest of the upcoming 2 events, I wanted to make sure that I went through this process and officially got them appointed. And they're not all going to work. I mean, I'm still trying to do some scheduling here, but again, I wanted total transparency on this process.
Any questions for?
So I have a question,
Yeah.
Corinne. So I ran into a citizen whose name is actually on this list, and she told me that she is working at our election. So you have designated some workers, do I understand
Yep,
that?
I've reached out to see availability and started, plugging in some names. I've still got a few more to plug in. But it's, you have different shifts on an election day, morning and afternoon. Some are early risers and willing to come early, others are not.
making noise on
So it's a real juggling act. So yes, I am, in the process of filling all those slots.
But you did, so you've touched base with every single one that's on the list that's confirmed that they still want to be on the list. That's what you said,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Great, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
What's the number that we typically have? Is this a kind of a full house, or do we usually have more?
Well,
or-
this is actually a short list, I'd say, but we're now down to 2 precincts rather than the 3, so that helps considerably in finding individuals, which is part of the motivation to go to the 2. Less staffing complexities and less cost, quite honestly. So this is an abbreviated list. There's a chance that this list will continue to grow, but again, as of right now, I just wanted to.
And what's our job tonight? We have to approve
Yeah,
their list?
to appoint them
Okay.
as poll workers, so. And then obviously on those days, they take the oath for the work that they'll perform that given day.
And what's the criteria? I mean, I know a lot of these people. What is the criteria? They just come and chat with you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because I think some of the folks, I know when Sharon George got here as interim town clerk, there just wasn't an adequate list, or some of the people were not interested in working during COVID time. And, literally, she advertised for poll workers. And so folks would step forward. In fact, Ann Hewen, I think, came to No Town Hall by, applying to be a poll worker back then. And, now she's working in the office as the assistant. So folks, that is what some cities and towns do, is they absolutely advertise. The Democratic and Republican town committees certainly are part of the process to recommend people. I think the law goes back to a time when we weren't living in a commonwealth that was over 60% unenrolled. But that is still two of the groups that do get to come forward with some recommendations on prospective poll workers. But some of them, again, they've been here for a while. We've moved to the poll pads now for both check-in at town meeting and town elections. So some people honestly don't want to do that. They want the good old-fashioned paper version. So that's kind of made a difference too. And then there's others who thought that was really kind of cool, and they want to learn all the more about it. So that's where we're at with that.
Thank you.
May I make a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that we appoint the poll workers on Corinne Kale's list.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you for
Thank
putting
you.
this.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Corinne. Thank you, all the poll workers.
Remember
if
a couple
you're
years ago, we had to vote like right before
Yeah.
the election because we
Tight.
weren't organized, so this is great to be proactive. Thank you. Sorry.
Stevens, he's on.
Next item on the agenda is Russ Stephen is going to talk about Autism Awareness Month. Good to have you here tonight, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Town Manager, and the board, I appreciate taking a few minutes of your time. Last time we were here, I think I know I had Detective Joe Accidini speaking about autism awareness. I just want to bring attention that April is Autism Awareness Month, and that for the month of April, you're going to see a little different look with the police officers and the cruisers. We'll have our magnetic autism awareness magnetic signs on the side of the cruisers. We'll be wearing different collar pins for the month of April. Our collar pins will be that of the autism awareness symbol. We'll be wearing for collar pins on our uniforms, as well as we'll be wearing our blue bands, which bring attention to autism awareness. So that's one phase of the autism awareness program that we're taking on now. The other initiative that we've taken, that Detective Joe Accidini has taken, is working with our school SRO. And what he wanted to do was bring autism awareness to our schools. So what he ended up doing was working with the autism awareness or the special education coordinator, the superintendent, the principals, as well as our SRO. And the week of April 11th through April 15th is going to be Autism Awareness School Spirit Week. And they're going to, on Monday the 11th, they'll go to the high school. On Tuesday the 12th, they'll go to Cutler School. On Wednesday the 13th, they'll go to Bucher School. On Thursday the 14th, they'll go to Winthrop School. And on Friday the 15th, they'll go to middle school. And when I say they, it's going to be the SRO and the school superintendent who will be the judges. And they'll be walking around independently in these schools. And the challenge went out to all the grades, all the schools themselves, to bring something or wear something unique to show autism awareness. And the schools that bring the classes that bring the most attention to autism awareness will be winning a ice cream social by Cherry Street Creamery. And Steve Jones, who's also our dispatcher, who also lives in town, we're working with him, and he has offered to work with us to do the ice cream social for the grade that wins the autism awareness, or shows the most spirit for autism awareness. The third event that we have, we're working with the Five Sons Pizza, and on April 26th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., anyone who orders something from the Five Sons restaurant and mentions autism awareness when ordering, the 20% of the proceeds of your bill will go to the special education at the Hamilton Wenham Special Education Fund. It actually goes to the school. So 20% of anything you order on the 26th will go to the Hamilton Wenham Special Education Department. And officers in both Hamilton and Wenham are volunteering their time. So if you call in an order and you want it delivered and you live in Hamilton or Wenham, you'll have a Hamilton police officer who will be delivering your order on the 26th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
That's great, Chief.
So,
Russ, could you tell me again, it's the 26th of April?
I'm going to, yes, Darcy, and what we're going to do is we're finishing up the flyer now, and I'm going to have it posted, as well as I'm going to email it to all town employees, as well as the Board of Selectmen, so you get it. But yes, it is the 26th of April from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Five Sons Pizza. Anything you order, 20% of your bill is going to go to the Hamilton Wenham Special Education Foundation. Police officers are volunteering their time, so if you order it to go, we'll deliver it for you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great idea.
That is so
I hope they can get it there under 30 minutes. No, I'm only kidding, only kidding.
So those are the three, and I have to really thank our SRO, our school superintendent, and for the Autism Awareness Spirit Week. They pushed that, school superintendent, our SRO, and Joe Accidini. Joe Accidini, Detective Accidini, has really taken the lead in this, and really passionate about this, and has been working with the townspeople, parents of people with children and with special needs. Really passionate about this. He's really taken it to the next level. I can't be more happy or proud of our police department, and specifically Joe as it pertains to this.
And Chief, if we wanted to get bracelets for the town boards to wear, where would we procure these blue bracelets?
So let me find out exactly where we ordered them from, so we're all uniformed in that, and then I'll take care of that. I'll find them for you.
If you were
Let me
Joe,
find out.
that'd be great.
That way we can get the same, because there's several of them out there. I'd rather you guys get the same exact ones that we're wearing, so we're uniformed in that.
It will be super cool.
And the last thing, now this does not have to do with autism, but it's more of a community policing thing. So as part of our community policing initiative throughout town, Friday, April 29th is going to be what we call High Five Friday. We did it prior to COVID. We haven't done it since COVID, but we're continuously working to build relationships with our community. And I always feel we must make positive impressions on our youth. So what we're doing is called high-fiving a child. Basically what happens on the 29th, the school resource officer, along with one police officer, will go to all of our elementary schools, and Wenham will have an officer there as well. And it's High Five Friday. You get off the bus first thing in the morning, you high five the police officer. It's to build relationships with the students. The school superintendent likes the idea. He's working with the leadership team, the principals of Bucher, Winthrop, and Cutler, and we're going to advertise that, and we'll get the information out to the parents before it happens so they know what's going on. Basically, we have officers to meet and greet the students first thing in the morning, high five, and then that starts the day. Usually puts a smile on their face. It puts a smile on the officer's face as well. We'll be pushing this one out through social media as well. It's not about the PR, it's more about the contact with the citizens in town, especially our youth in town. So that's why we do the High Five Friday. We didn't do it last couple of years because of COVID, and now with COVID, hopefully in remission, we're gonna start it up again. We do it once a year.
Thank you, Chief.
And I think that's it for me.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you very much, folks. It's good seeing you all. Take care.
Keep up the good work, Chief.
Thank
Thanks, Chief.
you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is getting into the ATM script and discuss and vote on motion makers.
Tom is here, and Christina is on the Zoom to participate
Okay,
on behalf of Fincom.
all right. So this is the full script we have here. And so we want to just get to the first motion?
Yeah.
Can we pause for just a second? I'm looking at the script, and we've changed our name from BOS to SB as a recent, and in the script there, when I think our moderator is introducing, it's saying BOS still, so we might want to just change that for I know we're probably just copying the last script, but we may just want to look through and make sure it's consistent throughout the document. If there's recommendations, it should say Select Board recommends instead of Board of Selectmen recommends. Did she? Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah, because even like when it introduces us, it says BOS, BOS, BOS.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm moving to page, not numbered here, but
Stick on page 1 first, sorry.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Corinne.
Hi, Corinne Kale. So I'd like to suggest or recommend that we modify a little bit about the voting procedure. So like number 3 says that the moderator will say to assist me with vote counting, but really that's only going to be if necessary because we're using the clickers, right? So I think it would be great to, if necessary, to assist. I appointed, and I think when we're back in the auditorium, I think it's 5 tellers that are needed.
Yeah, I think so.
Because there's really 2 in the middle, 1 on each side, and then 1 in the cafeteria. I mean, that's,
Maybe we could just change it to say, to assist me with vote counting if necessary, I've appointed tellers.
Because number 5 is the
Right.
clickers.
I've appointed tellers. I think actually they always
need
do,
to-
they're always specific, and then the names actually go in the minutes too.
Okay,
So, so I do think we need to say 5 as long as we've got someone in
okay.
the cafeteria. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going through the script here.
It's on page 39.
So Joe, the clickers, there's a blank in here on who's gonna actually demonstrate the clickers. Who have you designated for that?
We haven't designated anyone for that. Who do you want to designate for that?
Whoever knows how to, who's ever gonna be there helping, who's gonna be handling the, software for that?
Where's the blank?
The blank is on page, I don't know.
Well, I'm on page 39 of 57 in the first part of the packet, where it's the beginning
doesn't help
script.
All right.
Doesn't help you?
Bottom 7. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, right.
Yeah, bottom of page 7, yeah.
The moderator script there in the beginning.
As mentioned, when the vote is taken, we'll be using electronic voting clickers. Blank will demonstrate the use of the clickers in just a moment. In the unlikely event that we have trouble with the technology, we'll revert to the use of voter cards. So, so we have somebody bringing voter cards.
I think I did that at the last.
And then who's going to be running the software for the?
Lori will be running
Okay,
the software.
all right.
I'll do the demonstration, and Lori will be the,
She's the techie,
Yeah.
right?
Lori's a techie, yeah.
So our report, Joe, I went down to it, but the first one is obviously the report. I don't know that we've,
And then number 7 also says Board of Selectmen in it. Into that second sentence or second paragraph.
Into the second paragraph, number 7?
Yeah, number 7.
Yep, I already.
Hope you all read blah, blah, I got that one, okay.
Yep.
all right, so now we should go through the articles and decide who's going to make the motion.
I think so.
Sounds
yes.
good.
So I have a question about this first one, the reports. Why is, say, the chair not reading a report about the things that have transpired over the past year?
I know we haven't talked about this yet. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
Typically, so we had, the town moderator had paused all oral reports at town meetings.
When?
So we haven't done this in
Yeah.
5 or 6 town meetings now.
Okay.
I haven't been able to talk to Bill to find out if he's gonna allow them going forward. The town moderator has control of the meeting, so, Bill, I hope to talk to him tomorrow. He was gonna try to get on tonight, but he evidently had technical difficulties.
But do we have a report? Have we
You haven't written
a
it yet.
report? What's that?
You haven't written it yet.
No, I haven't written it yet.
You have,
So Joe, you need to get
I
together and
guess-
work on a report.
Yeah, typically when I've done it in the past, I think I've done it 3 times or something like that. I kind of compile my notes, and then I'll talk to some department heads and stuff like that, or have Joe or whoever kind of help me navigate what I have and give kind of a year report.
yeah. It doesn't have to be really long. I mean, I'm going to advocate for it because I think it,
It's like the
Is there-
State of the Union address, kind
Yeah,
of. I
you
think
want people
it's
to
part,
understand.
right? I mean, the state of the town, really.
yeah, state of the
right?
town. And I think it, I don't know, I always liked it.
Well, as we start listing all the things you've done, it seems sort of like, hey, we actually
Right.
accomplished some pretty cool things over the past year, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so Joey, you and I can work on that
Okay.
if we have time in the next,
We'll have time.
Couple of days.
We'll have to make time.
all right, so this article right here, is that usually read by the moderator, or is that read by, because I'll make the motion if it's not typically done by Bill Bowler.
I believe the motion has to be made by somebody other than the moderator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
all right, so I can do this one,
It says modern. Yeah, and the language here is hopefully
and then I can speak to it,
passé.
and I can speak to it as well.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
Yeah.
easy.
yeah. You can help him.
So for,
So now when you want to change you want to change the actual motion? Right now, the motion that was prepared is consistent with what it's been for the last few years, in the last probably 4 or 5 town meetings. So right now, it says that I move that the reports of town offices and committees be received and placed on file. So do you not want to, are you going to allow?
no, it's the same motion, I'm just going to speak to it, that's all.
Okay, you just
That's the
want
only
to speak to it,
difference.
okay, so, but
Yeah.
You changing the discussion
It's
there.
not an intent to allow,
Yeah.
to have reports from various town boards and committees, it's just kind of a statement from the select board.
Right.
So what was that?
My guess, this kind of predates me, since I've only been here kind of through the COVID town meetings, but I'm assuming in the past, there must have been some period where various town boards and committees were allowed to give reports at town meeting.
Yeah, so typically,
Fincom.
Bill will open the meeting, and then the chair of the select board and chair of the FinCom will say some remarks, and then we'll accept the reports and then go into the warrant.
Christina, is FinCom's report ready?
She's gonna, you guys are not going to be happy with me.
You see her camera go off.
Sorry, I just turned on my printer in the background. I've talked about it. I haven't actually, it's not done, but it can be.
As a can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll choose, I mean, you know, it doesn't need to be everybody, but I get, because the motion just says to hear reports of town, we don't need to change the motion, the motion's fine.
Okay.
It's just a discussion part.
Yeah, it's a discussion part.
Which
and
we
that's-
don't have
and that's
to-
not
we
in
don't
the-
have to read
And
it.
that's not in the warrant.
Right.
So. But there is actually an article, there is a 1-1 election of officers, so who reads that? That's not on this list in our,
It's not on, yeah, it's not in the
it's
packet.
not in the script.
Someone's not really,
There is never a motion on that. That's the
Okay. It
election
just-
warrant article.
Just sits there? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so 1-1 is William Olson, 1-2 is consent motion, I can do that as well.
1, 2, and 1, 3.
1-2 and 1-3, sorry. So can I write on this one, or is this,
It's yours. You can write on it. I'm writing on
Bill?
this so I can get them fixed.
Yes.
I'm sorry, the Master Plan Steering Committee with Bill have been approved by the town moderator to make a brief statement about the master plan. So I'm wondering if, after the Selectmen's report and after the FinCom report, would that be a good time for the master plan?
Yeah, sure, I mean, you're covered, and it says selected committee, so you're covered in that motion.
Great, perfect, thank you.
So to orchestrate it, maybe Bill, if you, I don't know if FinCom or you will go first, but you could kind of tee Rosie up and
Okay.
ask the moderator to recognize Rosie, and she
Yeah,
could
and then I'll
give a little spiel about the master plan.
Yeah, and I'm going to just give an introduction, a little rah-rah speech for, because we really want citizens to be involved in this. And then we have very learned professionals. We have Kristen Kasner and Jack, who will probably do the body of it. And Bill has said it has to be short, so it will be.
Okay. All right. Article 1-3, consent motion, anything else to talk about there?
I don't think so. I guess maybe,
There's a hold, then I
yeah,
just break
if
it
we
out.
should, maybe as we go through, when we have the articles for consent, we can just put a backup plan if one's held who reads it or makes a motion.
That you usually do,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to do that one?
Bill's gonna make
the motion
the motion for
consent.
1-3.
And then if
Okay.
anything gets held, we'll have different people as we go through the rest of the.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying, and the contingency.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, Article 2-1, which is compensation classification table.
Does FinCom usually do that?
Yes, they usually do everything that's financial, so.
Right, that one is, I think in the past, at least when I looked through my notes from the last town meeting, I believe that, I think Bill had actually volunteered to be the mover for anything that was not on, that was held from the consent calendar. So, but it doesn't, my expectation is that things like this will probably not get taken off the consent calendar, so but we should have somebody lined up just in case.
Yeah, so I'll do the 1-3, and then if anything gets held, I'll do that as well, too. 2-1, FinCom, are you assigning people, or are you just gonna say FinCom, and you'll figure it out later?
We usually-
Yeah, no, yeah, we can decide tomorrow who from FinCom will do it.
Okay, so FinCom, you do 2-1, 2-2. And then, I had one more question for you, Tom. Is there, these are all, just want to, could you just please point out to me as we go through which ones are not majority, which ones have to be more than 51%? Or are these, are all the motions are going to be voted on simple?
It would typically say it too.
So it does say it in the comments
Okay.
along with each article. So, for example,
2-2.
the bill of prior fiscal year.
4/5 vote.
2-2,
Okay, yep.
It's a 4/5 vote.
All right, so 2-2 will be FinCom. And that's 4/5 vote. 2-3, general town departmental appropriations. Anybody from the select board want to grab one? Does everybody, I think everybody should do at least one.
Which
So,
one, 2.2?
2-3, yeah, general town department
It's a
appropriation.
big one.
I'll do that. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll do it.
It is the,
Budget.
Oh, God.
that's the big one.
Throwing tomatoes at me.
Let's FinCom do that one
FinCom
too.
usually does that.
Yeah, FinCom does that one too, so it's,
Okay.
FinCom is 2-3.
On that one, when do we fill in all those blanks?
I'll have Alice fill those in.
Which one?
The, and the,
2-3, the numbers aren't in on the next
Numbers
Oh,
aren't
page.
yes, I see.
get that from, we'll get that from Alex.
They're in mine, but, I'm looking
They're
at
not in the
printed one.
scanned copy.
Yeah. Okay. Capital expenditures 2-4. Who wants to do that one? This is capital expenditures.
I'll do it. If nobody, I don't hear an avalanche of hands up. I'll do that.
Okay, Rosemary. 2-5 is water enterprise budget.
FinCom usually does enterprise budget.
Okay, so FinCom will do 2-5. 2-6 is annual financial actions, which is
All that
just transfers.
yeah. And this is one that's a consent motion, right?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I
Yes,
gotta mark those up here.
Yes, the
Yes,
last
thank
two, the prior one was as well for the water
Prior one was
enterprise
well.
budget.
Okay, so I'm doing 2-5,
2-6.
2-6, 2-7,
Yeah. And OPEB is the next one.
FinCom usually does.
and 2-1 as well.
FinCom usually does OPEB trust, right?
So
Yeah,
2-1 as well, so we just eliminate all of FinCom. FinCom's only doing
2-3.
2-2,
2-2, 2-3.
2-2.
Well, Bill, we can do 2-1 if it's pulled off the consent agenda.
Okay, all right, that's fine, that makes sense, okay.
So we're back to 2-8 now?
Yeah, so 2-8 is also on the consent. So anything that comes out the consent will be handled by FinCom, okay?
Sounds good.
And then the next one is 2-9, which is Patent Homestead operating budget. Sean, you want to do that one?
Yeah, I'll do that one.
Or Rosie?
No, Sean, that's fine.
Article 2, and it's, I just want to make sure nothing special in there, but seems to be. Article 2-10 is stabilization fund, just a transfer.
And that's a
FinCom.
2/3 vote on that
Yeah.
one.
At
FinCom?
FinCom, usually.
FinCom, okay.
You're going to be busy.
They usually are. Most
2-10.
Financial articles, so.
211 would be, is Jay going to do it, I would assume?
I think we already have it in there as Jay Butler for
Yeah.
all the,
Yeah.
for all the.
So all the
CPC.
community house, 212,
Yep.
213,
Okay.
and 214.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Rosemary.
So, I know that we have somebody supporting particular articles, to introduce articles. And there's time for, say, select board members if they wanted to add some comments about something. I think, I remember doing that. It just seems like so long ago, right?
Yeah. If you want to be recognized to speak in favor of something?
Yeah.
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 I think that would, yeah.
Okay,
I don't think that's a problem.
okay, great.
I mean, so yeah, Joe, the setup's going to be similar to how we used to be. Are we going to be,
Once the motion's moved, there's open for discussion like there was any.
but are we going to be up on a table, up on the,
You'll be on the table in front of the stage
In front
like
of
you
the
normally
stage.
are. The moderator will be on top of the stage, and there'll be a microphone at both our desk and at the FinCom
Good.
table.
so we don't have to get up to speak, we can speak at the
Yeah.
table.
Because if it's something
Right.
that the board has been voted in
Right.
favor of, and if you're speaking in favor of it, you're supporting the board's position, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Last article is.
2-14 is,
That one,
what one?
I will take the last one.
Oh, yeah, so,
The climate change
yeah, right, 214 no, 214 is part of the,
214
Consent.
CPC,
Oh, I
yeah.
thought that was
It's
Jay
CPC.
Butler.
2-14 is on the consent.
it's on the consent.
Here, consent.
214 is on the
fine.
consent agenda.
We'll have Jay speak to it if it gets held.
Okay, all right, so Jay will speak to it, help.
If necessary.
Okay, and then we got climate change resolution, which is Darcy.
Yep.
I only have one.
And so the question is, Jamie, is something that you want to,
He can say, I make the motion to
I'm gonna bring up the
adjourn.
new business. We're
all right?
gonna have a revolution. Article 3. Just kidding.
You can make the motion to adjourn.
Right.
The most important one.
So what do we need to vote on, Joe, on this? We will need to vote on motion makers? We don't
Community
I mean,
house.
you
No,
we need to vote on that.
that's it.
Oh, you don't, I mean, you just kind of discussed it and decided.
Right.
I-
It says
I think-
discussion vote on our, that's in case we had to vote.
In case you had to vote, but
I don't think we need to
All
vote.
those in favor?
The only thing we're gonna vote on is, we're gonna go back and talk about the CPC.
Yeah.
Right. Christina, you'll get us the names of the, by Wednesday, on Wednesday morning, the names of FinCom members who are moving articles?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay.
Just
Yep,
like-
I will.
I'll just go through real quick, just so we're on the same page, but I'm gonna do, so 1-1 is not moved, because it's just an election. 1-2 is myself, consent agenda 1-3, which covers 2-1, 2-5, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, and 2-14. If they get held, they will be by FinCom, except 2-14, which will be by Jay. So 2-1 is consent, 2-2 is FinCom.
I'm sorry, on Article 1-3, Bill, are you making the motion?
Yes, I'm making the motion.
Okay, thank you.
2-1 is part of the consent. 2-2 is FinCom. 2-3 is FinCom. 2-4 is Rosemary. 2-5 is consent. 2-6 is consent. 2-7 is consent. 2-8 is consent motion. 2-9 is Sean. 2-10 is FinCom. 2-11, 2-12, and 2-13 is J. 2-14 is consent motion, and 3-1 is Darcy. Everybody agree with that?
And did you say for anything that's held from the consent calendar is going to be moved by FinCom?
Except for 2-14, which would be J.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next item is to go back and make a recommendation for Article 2-13. So I think we make the motion and then we discuss it, or do we discuss it and make the motion? Doesn't matter to me.
I'll make the motion. So I move that we approve favorable recommendation
Yeah.
for 2-13.
And second.
Okay, any further discussion? So, yeah, so I met with the community house representatives and went through the project in detail and really sort of had an understanding of it. But before I get into what we want to talk about, I do want to hear, I know FinCom voted on it after we met, and it was unanimous with FinCom. So can we get a quick synopsis on the FinCom discussion and why it was unanimous recommendation?
Melissa Elmer's here in case you have questions.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, so we reviewed the proposals and spoke about it, and I think we're convinced that it would be a benefit to the town. I think we thought that it's a little bit different than some other nonprofits that might be doing work on their property, because this particular nonprofit has as its mission the supporting the community of the town. So I think that pulled it out of some projects, other differentiates it from some other potential projects that might come before the town. And once we sort of saw the work that was being done and the amount of work that was being done, and the heard about the historic nature of the building and the desire of the community house to not skimp on things, to do work that would kind of respect the architecture of the building and of the town, and the amount of sort of heavy work that's going to have to be put in. It's when you describe it as a simple project, but I think we realized sort of what the extent of the work that would have to be done to make this simple patio kind of appear. I think we were convinced that the price was was right for the project that they were doing, and that it really will benefit the people of the town. And it is we were reassured that this patio area or kind of park-like area will be for the use of the public. And for all of those reasons, I think the members of Fincom were convinced that it would be a good project. We did talk about the fact that the master plan is happening, the Patton Park master plan is happening, and sort of the desire that those things not be in conflict, that they be coordinated to an extent might possibly happen. And I think we were, again, reassured by the proponents that that would happen, and that this would be to the benefit of the town and the people of the town.
Thank you. And I had the same discussion, and I also was convinced that it's for the betterment of the community, building a gathering place, having farmers market, having an area for kids to gather with a fence around it so it was safe for the kid, being able to remove the fence for events with some flexibility. It wasn't sort of improving a heating system or improving something you didn't see, right? It was improving something that you're going to get full use of as a town. So, so the things I talked about were more large picture, sort of like mentioned, like sort of make sure that we could use it as a town and make sure we communicate and make sure more transparency with community house, having them come and present sort of a capital plan to the select board so that other projects maybe are thought about years ahead and not just sort of months ahead. So, I think the only compromise was I sort of asked is, what if it was 100,000, not 150? Like, what would be your barrier to not be able to do the project, but still, if we want to spend $30,000 on the master plan, maybe it's maybe some compromise. But that I really can't change the motion. That would have to be sort of a motion made on town floor. But I think that was a compromise we talked about. But I'm convinced that I think it's a good use of funds to promote, and I think that by beautifying the community house, other properties may also beautify as well to sort of keep up with it. So I'm in a position to have enough information tonight to make a recommendation. So anybody else have questions or comments?
I was just wondering, will this be open to everyone in town, so 24/7? I mean, how do they envision people using it? Will it be?
Yeah, I don't think they locked the
locked
gate,
up?
but there's somebody on the call who can answer some questions maybe.
How will access for the community be provided?
Is it okay for me to speak?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
hi, Melissa.
introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Elmer, the Executive Director of the Community House. Let me just take care of that.
If you could turn off the microphone and the speaker or whatever other computers in the same room as you, that would be a big help.
Okay. Okay, hold on.
They're in the same room.
Let me try again. It's still happening. It's still happening. So what do I need to turn off? Just walk away into the lobby, please.
She's muted already.
She's moving.
Okay, now it's
Run it away
better.
from you, Melissa.
Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Melissa Elmer, Executive Director at the Community House. I've been the Executive Director for 16 years. Pleasure to be here, and I know you have a very full agenda. So if you could repeat that question for me, I'm not quite sure who asked it, but I'd be delighted to give you a response.
Yes, this is Darcy Dale, and I was just wondering how access will be provided to the community?
So the community house is always welcoming and inclusive for all. So the space, it doesn't really have time limits, right? We want to make sure that people are using the space. We welcome them to do that lawfully. When it's not reserved for, other events. So it really should be considered park space that people are welcome to come to their community center and have, a sandwich or a picnic after, playing at the playground and coming to an activity here at the community house. There aren't currently confines other than, we want to make sure people are using it safely in hours that is properly illuminated.
And the other thing is, I like the idea about coordinating with the master plan for Patton Park so that it's actually part of the larger venue. I like that. So I just hope that's something that you are planning too.
Wholeheartedly, we would love to be welcomed to the table to participate in that. The community house has always used Patton Park for our after-school program, especially as a place for the kids to run, play, and make use of the playground, and to be a neighbor that could participate in that planning process would be just something that would mean a lot to us to be asked to be a part of. So 100%.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other, go ahead, Rosemary.
So, hi, Melissa, it's Rosie Kennedy here, hello. So Melissa and I spoke last week, and I was very excited to hear that she definitely wants to reinvigorate the relationship between the senior center and the seniors. And I think it will be a lovely venue for seniors to be able to come over and just have a different venue, the senior center, than to go across the street and have a lunch or a picnic at the community house. I think that will be a great addition. And one other thing we had talked about is my goal is to include some more adult programming, and Melissa was very receptive to that idea, so hopefully there'll be some maybe adult I don't know, lectures or exercise class or sort of whatever, but make it truly a space for the community. And Melissa was very on board with that, so I certainly am very enthusiastic about supporting this venture. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. I wanted to mention on that note that we're excited to have the Council on Aging here anytime to use that outdoor space, but indoors as well. If the senior center is quite large, but sometimes there's just we have more space or different space that could be more beneficial for senior programming. We welcome that, and we'd love to have the town back, Joe, for their holiday party if we could do that in person again. Any opportunity that we can to give back to this community means a lot to us, and we want to do that as an organization. It's definitely the will of our board to be as open, available, and welcoming to everyone at any time.
You guys have any questions? I mean, just to note too, from my discussion, I mean, just keep in mind that the community house gets all its yearly revenue from their programs and from donations and supporters, so it's not like they have they're not getting money from the taxpayers, not getting money from any government fund. They're raising their money themselves every year, so it's important to support that and make sure they stay viable and make sure they improve. So yeah, my only request, once again, we're to be more transparent. We'd like to see you here in front of the select board, a couple times a year, just to give us an update on what you're doing, and we'd love to see sort of the master plan so we can help build the future, and it's not just a year by year, case by case basis, but we were approving sort of a overall plan. So that would be my ask in the future, but I'm willing to support this project at this point.
I think that's a good idea.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I just have pretty much one question. Jamie Knutson, good to see you, Melissa. So, right, the new plan, there's a fence around the outside, and you can see through it and all of that, right? Is that
correct?
But when you put a fence around something, it sort of has this sort of feeling like, am I allowed there or not? So my question is there going to be, I don't know, signage or something that says, this is a public space, or something to that effect that's going to let people know that they're welcome to come in?
Yes, I think that you bring up a good point that our board has talked about in detail for a long time about that fence. Number one, the fence is a licensing requirement through the Department of Early Education and Care for our after-school program. Anytime we have the kids outside of our facility out front, there needs to be a fence. They've been kind to allow us to use our tent throughout COVID, but we won't be able to use that space moving forward without a fence. So that explains that. So we knew that in order to have our largest program, be able to make use of that space, we're going to need a fence, and that we have to overcome the hurdle of the perception that a fence brings in terms of staying away or exclusivity. So we definitely have a marketing hurdle that we need to get over, whether it's signage, information on, through our website and our digital media that makes sure that our community knows that they're welcome at the community house. Not just for the space, but all of our programming, because that fence is there. We know that that's something that we'll have to work very hard on.
So, Melissa, looking at the plans for this, there'll be seating areas inside the fenced area and then outside the fenced area as well?
We have haven't determined the exact spot for all of the seating. We know that the gate we want to remain open at all times that this space isn't being used for children's activities, so that it's open and people are welcome to come in and not feel that they can't approach. But we want seating specifically on the lower level. We've talked a lot about that, so that it's accessible to seniors who might just want to come across the street from the senior center or Patton Park and not come to the patio. We have a lot of active people in town who use the sidewalk here on Bay Road for walking, running, and exercise. And so seating on the lower level is a definite. I just haven't yet determined if there'll be seating on the outside of the fence or just inside.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion from anybody else in the room, virtually or in person?
Nobody online is looking to speak.
All right, so we already made a motion, I seconded, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So Select Board is recommending 5-0 favorable action on Article 2-13.
Do you want to pick somebody to make comments and deliver that at town meeting, because the warrant's out?
I can do that. If somebody else wants to, I can do it. Anybody else want to? You want to do it?
If you don't want to do it, I mean, I would like to, but.
Go ahead. No, please.
Jamie
Thank
hasn't
you.
done.
I'll fight you
Jamie's
for
not
it.
going to do anything.
It doesn't have one.
Arm
You
wrestle.
both can do it.
Arm wrestle.
All right, so are we, we're good with the warrant, looks like.
We're good with that.
All right, water abatement request, discussion and vote. So, where's my mouse here?
This is a leaky toilet.
So I just gotta get to it here. Sorry. Lots of attachments here.
While you're kind of looking for that, Bill, I'll make a motion that we approve the water abatement application for 56 Appleton Avenue.
Second?
Any further discussion? And I'm assuming this came from Tim, he's vetted it, that it's one time,
Yep.
and that the repair bill is in here.
Yep. Was repaired and the reading went back to normal.
Went back normal, okay. Just a reminder, everybody, to fix your leaky toilets, because it costs the town money, but we understand that things happen, but
Wasn't it a $6 part or something
Yeah.
like that? It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and it added about $200 and some dollars to the
Yeah,
bill.
2 to 40 or something.
And also, you look at the gallons,
Yeah, exactly.
you're 47,000 gallons consumption.
and they donated to the Jimmy Fund on top of it.
Do you need counsel here for anything else on the agenda?
Do I need to, sorry?
Do you need counsel here for anything else?
No, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Have a good night, Tom.
Thank you.
Saturday.
Bye.
We will
Thanks, Tom.
see you Saturday.
Saturday.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Unanimous. All right, MBTA zoning letter.
There were- Now we're going
This is-
into.
Oh, Did he leave something? It's gonna be thirsty.
Kids, they're always leaving their water bottles.
All right, so Joe, we talked about those before. Can you give us a quick
Yeah, so this is,
summary of what we have to do here?
now, this does say discussion of vote. I don't know if you necessarily need a vote tonight. Oh, no, we do need, I was jumping ahead. We do need a vote on this tonight. So, high level, as you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the legislature passed some changes to zoning. Among them was a requirement that the MBTA, in consultation with the HCD, create MBTA zoning, that is transit zoning requirements for all communities that are dubbed MBTA communities. The legislation, the orders, the rules have been put out by DHCD and MBTA several months ago. The comment period closes on March 31st. This letter is an effort to try to get Town of Hamilton's kind of concerns about the draft or rules on MBTA zoning in front of the Secretary, hopefully get some change. This is put together partly with the assistance of the Director of Planning and Inspections, as well as kind of consultation with some other towns around us that are having similar concerns. This is just a draft to initiate conversation. Was hoping that the board had had a chance to review it and make any recommendations, amendments if you like. I think there might be one person on the Zoom who also is interested in making some comment.
Just for the folks at home, this would basically, in just looking at the numbers here, it would increase our housing by 750 units, basically in the downtown area, which is about 25% of our current housing stock.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it was probably based on areas that have high density, like high-rise housing.
The
I think it's based on anything.
Yeah, the state's trying to create a
I mean, honestly.
one-size-fits-all solution for
Yeah,
a
you
problem that
can't-
doesn't have it.
Yeah, you can't
It's
do that.
really poorly
The,
designed.
it calls out a number of minimums for creation of, it's actually not for the creation of housing, it's minimums for zoning of a certain number of units. And it depends on what level of transit service you have, if you only have bus service, or if you have rapid light rail service, or if you have only commuter rail service.
Right.
Commuter rail communities are required to have 25% of their housing units, or a minimum of 750 units, be created within a walkable distance, a half mile to that commuter rail station. If you are dubbed an MBTA community but don't have an MBTA facility, figure that one out for a second.
Right.
Then you get to put that in your downtown instead of near the non-existing T infrastructure. So, you know, I think that the letter really tries to offer a number of valid points that the town of Hamilton and towns like us are concerned about. With just, you know, a pushback on the state of, you know, to try to kind of amend their rules to make something that makes sense. If the state doesn't make any changes, the town will be asked to adopt zoning within a year that would allow for that kind of density. Now, again, you know, we make the point in this letter that we don't even have 50 contiguous acres.
know, we don't even
within a
have
half
that.
mile.
have the water.
So,
Yeah.
we don't
We
even
don't have the
that.
water, we don't have the
Yep.
infrastructure for sewer or anything.
Have the services.
So I think we do a good job, Joe, laying out all the reasons why it's not a good idea. What I want to go through actually is what we make, which is good. We say we're not just making complaints, but we're making solutions, recommendations. So let's just walk through these, like 10 recommendations we made to see if we agree with them that we're going to put in the letter. So one was eliminate the 50 continuous acre minimum. I think that makes sense as a suggestion.
Yep.
Number two is require that 15% of housing units be classified as affordable units. It would be a high bar, but is more reasonable than what is proposed. Please provide clarity on the apparent conflict between these regulations in Chapter 40B.
Yep.
I'm not sure I understand what that's saying. Require that 50% of housing units, of new units, or of
New units.
existing units?
No, of the new units. Any new units created by the zoning would have to be, the idea would be that a town like Hamilton's already not at its 10%. If you don't require a certain number of the units to be affordable.
We're gonna go way
then
off.
You're gonna continue to go under. We're at only 2
I think
point something.
everybody is, right.
So-
And the 15% is kind of more in line with if we have new development, they either have to have such a percentage of affordable housing or basically pay a vig to us to buy affordable housing somewhere else.
Give credit for communities that lack adequate water or wastewater infrastructure. So whether the word is credit or something else, but I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
Give consideration.
Give consideration.
Give credit for units already existing in transit and downtown areas. Give credit for units that could be constructed in transit and downtown areas under current zoning. Give more time for communities to comply, sorry. Provide funding to enable communities to plan for and construct the units. Another unfunded mandate only makes communities more resistant.
Yeah, that's.
Eliminate the half-mile radius for communities that already have built-out downtowns that are transit adjacent, and utilize an approach which benefits those communities that can and are willing to accommodate 40A Section 3 with grants and major local investment by the state, rather than imposing types of unworkable program dynamics that are found in 48 Section 3A at present.
Basically, that's asking for a carrot instead of a stick.
Right,
Give us incentives to do what you'd like us to do as opposed to just threatening to take things away.
right. I agree with all that.
Well,
So, Joe, you mentioned how this letter sort of came together.
Yeah.
Is there attorneys, land use attorneys that are having input into this at some level, I assume? So is our towns?
I mean, well, we didn't run the letter by town council. We did reach out to the planning department. I believe Kristen Kasner, who's on the master plan steering committee and is a planner by trade, may want to be recognized if you, yeah, she's got her hand up, when you're ready to do that. Like I said, the reason for the letter right now is just to get our concerns in front of the state before the comment period closes on the 31st. I think there'll be plenty of time to talk to our attorneys about what our options are if they don't make any changes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not, right, this is just recommendations, it's not a policy, it's just it can be edited any time, but it's what we're gonna put out there. And then does Wenham, what is Wenham doing?
So, I don't know, I've been trying to keep up. We started the conversation before they had their current interim.
Okay.
Haven't had much conversation with Tom about this. I know he was on the last call with the other town managers and town administrators, so I don't know if he's got if the select board there has decided to draft a letter or not. I did call out in this letter that Hamilton's in a unique position because our downtown is adjacent to Wenham's downtown, which is exactly where the T-stop would be. So if both communities were compelled to create zoning that would create 750 new units in each community, that would be 1,500 new units.
In a mile,
In
a quarter mile, probably.
within, we're roughly within a half mile of either side of the commuter
They're asking
station.
for Wenham to go up to almost 50%, add 50% to their,
Be an outrageous high bar for them as well, yeah.
so,
not fun, it's not.
there are a few typos in here, which I'm sure that you may or may not have noticed. But, you know something, so the last paragraph here, the second sentence, however, with reasonable accommodations and flexibility, we believe they can accomplish the administration's goals. I mean, I don't see much room for us to say, you know, if you're only going to require 500 units, that's reasonable accommodation, right? I mean, I don't know, that's...
What is reasonable accommodation?
Right, exactly. It's a little bit of a loaded sentence. You know, if they give us a few crumbs, we'll say it's okay. And I think this, my opinion, for the 2 cents that it's worth, is that this is grossly unfair and categorically unreasonable in our town. I mean, even 250 units is unreasonable. So,
sorry.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Rosie, but if we don't offer something back, I mean, they're just gonna assume all these communities are just complaining, and they'll just...
No, it's not that, just the words we used here. Reasonable accommodation that accomplish administration. I don't know that we can accomplish the goals, maybe we'll get them to modify their goals.
But it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to just Hamilton. We're
Right.
asking them to make amendments that would apply across.
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, but we're advocating for ourselves here, so
Yes.
we don't need to make a broad statement
Right.
to save the world. We're trying to save Hamilton here.
Yes.
So I haven't looked at this. Originally, this is from a statute that was passed by the
Right.
legislature, signed by the governor, right?
Yeah.
And these are the proposed regulations or guidelines, right?
Right.
Okay. So, maybe, I mean, would it work in that sentence to say accomplish the goals of the statute?
Say it again, Jamie, like in where in that last paragraph you're saying?
Instead of accomplish the administration's goals, accomplish the goals of the, set out in the statute.
Well, the goals are 750 units for Hamilton.
Well, if that, but no, that's not specified in the statute.
Right.
Right.
Well, there are, it talks about density, and it talks about land mass requirements, and it talks about number of units per acre, so.
Right, but that's in the regulations, not in the statute. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, you're right,
Yeah,
well,
so which are we talking about is the
Right, I
question.
guess that's the crux, right?
well,
If it's in the statute, do we
Right.
want to write a letter that says, we don't care about your stupid statute? Right? It's state law, presumably.
well, but it's not mandatory, right? You'll only not be eligible for particular housing grants or loans,
Infrastructure
whatever.
grants, too.
Yeah,
We
right,
wouldn't be
exactly.
eligible for Mass Works
infrastructure.
grant.
But to your point, right, that's, I mean, the guidelines, the regs are not finalized yet.
Rosie, do you have different language you'd like to put there instead of that sentence?
I don't know, with reasonable accommodation, with reasonable requirements. And so, well, we don't want an accommodation, we want reasonable requirements, or
Got it.
reasonable requirements and flexibility. We believe, I mean, we can't speak for other towns, right?
Okay.
We believe
Who's
these-
they?
Right, it means, right,
They is-
we're talking about, kumbaya, everybody, and unless we had a group comment letter here, I think we should stick to advocating for ourselves. I don't know, what do you think, Jamie?
Well, the word "they" there refers to the regulations, that's just a grammatical comment. It maybe should be more clear and say
Right.
the regulations.
The
but,
regulations. Could be either, I see your point.
I mean, I guess when I read it and add in the better definition of "they," however, with reasonable accommodations and flexibility, we believe the regulations, right, couldn't accomplish the administration's goals while respecting community's unique characteristics.
Our community's unique characteristics. You want to be part of it?
I mean, I mean, since we're talking about Hamilton kind of here, we could say, however, with reasonable accommodations for each unique community and flexibility, accommodations, flexibility for each unique community, we believe the statute, the regulations can accomplish the administration. Is that what we're saying there? What's the "they" again? Remind me on the
Accomplish the
"they."
goals of the, do you want to
See,
say
it
the
could
goals
be
of the statute or the goals of the
instituted
administration?
either.
I would rework, I mean, I don't want to be a wordsmith there. I'd say, we believe that with the reasonable accommodations and flexibility, the regulation can, the modified regulations can accomplish administrative goals while respecting our community's unique characteristics, and putting R in there.
R, that's right,
Right.
right. No, and I don't like
So
the
we
word
believe
accommodations.
With a reasonable,
Regulations.
with reasonable requirements.
And
We
flexibility.
believe that the regulations can accomplish, the modified regulations can accomplish the administration's goal while respecting our community's unique characteristics.
Right, that's, yes, our communities.
We want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Did you get all that, Joe?
I think so.
There's only 12 different
We'll have
versions
to
of
have
it.
it proofread again anyway.
Do we wanna-
Kristen Kasner's looking to make.
Yeah,
some
so
recognized-
anybody, any further discussion before we open up
No,
the
let's
mic?
hear from
Let's hear from
Kristen.
Kristen.
Okay, go ahead.
She'll have the correct wording. Hi, Kristen. Oh, you're muted.
Kristen, you're on your,
There you
you're
go.
still muted.
Hello, guys. Kristen Kasner, 27 Union Street. thank you for letting me speak on this. I just, thank you for reading out the letter. I haven't read the letter, so I don't, but just what I've jotted down. The things that I just wanted to make sure and bring up that we're talking about is, so the statute, there's 3 things in the statute that we can't change and that the regulations can't change. And that's housing by right, 15 units an acre, and that it's not age restricted, and that it's like family housing. So it's not like 1 unit, like a whole project of 1-bedroom units. But everything else, the 50 acres total, 25 acres, 1 district, 5 acre minimums, the reasonable size, yeah, so that's a reasonable size, the half a mile from transit, the developable land analysis, and really not looking into infrastructure are all issues within the regulations that are absolutely not taking into account the unique situations that we have in our community. So I guess the only things I wanted to bring up is that I agree with you guys from the eliminate the 50 acre minimum, but I also, more importantly, think we need to push to eliminate the 5 acre minimum because we have a lot of infill properties in downtown that we could do, but they nowhere near add up to 5 acres. So all of a sudden you're looking outside of these walkable downtown areas, which is not the point of this legislation or the regulation. So want to push to eliminate the 5 acre minimum. Also, the half mile, I mean, as you guys have already said, and I think you probably have it in here, that the downtown might be bigger than that half mile, but you have an established walkable downtown. So anything within the downtown and or other areas that you've identified through a planning process that are good for multifamily housing development should be considered as eligible within this, in these regulations. The other piece, I don't know if you guys have read the developable land analysis, but it's like absurd. I mean, for communities that have staff, it's absurd. Never mind communities like Hamilton and those all around us. Like to do a full capacity of all the title restrictions and wetlands and infrastructure capacity and how many units we could build within this, within this quote district that we're creating, it's so over and above what the limitations, what we have capacity to do within our towns. And therefore it's kind of like, is it a full analysis or is it kind of a back of the napkin what you can do? And then with the regulations, they say, well, if you can't make that 15 units an acre count, make it bigger. And it's like, okay. And then we get into the infrastructure issues of Title V and we have all the water withdrawal limitations that we have, and with, the threatened Ipswich River. So, I applaud trying to figure out how to meet this housing challenge, but we just need to be trying to figure it out, try to give communities credit for planning and doing the planning to be creating the units in the right places. And I think some of these guidelines are so strict that they actually don't allow us to do the right thing. And what else? I think that's kind of the point that I wanted to make. And the last thing I wanted to say is the affordable housing discussion is a good one. However, what these guidelines are doing are adding mandates and taking away local control. We have the local control to do inclusionary zoning or do 15% affordable or whatever we want to do separately, which, if we want to do that, that's fine. I don't know if I would encourage more state regulations telling us what to do, and you're adding something that's already not in the bylaw, which we can do locally, unless it's something you feel like we can't do locally and that you want the state to impose that. That's what I don't quite understand, just with this limited discussion. But anyway, that's about it. I've been, the same thing as your staff here, talking to other communities, and Burlington's in a different picture than Hamilton, but we're all kind of in the same boat. It's all, this is the one size fits all approach. It's absolutely not we're not a one size fits all community. So, so that's all. I just wanted, I didn't know it was in the letter. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it and, try to, again, work with the master plan and you guys to try to figure out how we do this. And I did listen to some other previous meetings, and the infrastructure dollars that's being attached to this are massive. And I really just want to emphasize that I think we need to try to figure this out. And hopefully the guidelines will be relaxed to a point where we can do our own planning and try to figure out the housing challenge in Hamilton, the right way for Hamilton. But to just kind of say, we're not going to do it and then forfeit so much funding right now, I think is something that kind of scares me as well, especially as we talk about the master plan and other just efforts that we want to be looking at for the future. So, but otherwise, good work. I'm glad to hear other points in the letter.
Thank you for the insight.
So, so Joe, we, if we wanted to, we could self-impose 15% of housing be classified as affordable? We don't have to, it doesn't limit us from doing that, the current regulation?
That, Kristen, that's what you just said, right?
No, under 40A, under just what you can do from a zoning perspective, the town of Hamilton could impose that multifamily over X number of units. I mean, you choose. You can impose an inclusionary zoning requirement, which is your affordability requirement, which we can decide to do. I just hesitate. You know, we all are dealing with 40B and kind of these state regulations that we don't control, that where we can control, we probably should.
But that won't interrupt the by right nature of the zoning. In other words, the zoning's supposed to be by right, but if we impose restrictions, that's okay? I want to be sure about that.
So, for inclusionary, as far as I know, inclusionary zoning is, if it's in your zoning, that it's within by right, because you can still have site plan review, and it's still kind of not necessarily a dimensional requirement, but it's just a flat requirement in your zoning.
So
It's not a discretionary approval.
we can strike out the part about requiring
Yeah,
it.
we don't want to put a limit in there if we're not limited.
But certainly ask your town, ask our town council,
Yeah.
before,
Right, if the regulations, if the current regulation doesn't allow us to impose affordable, we want to add that flexibility in.
Right.
If it doesn't, if it's silent on the issue, then we don't need to add it.
Right.
Right, okay. That makes sense, Joe?
So maybe I'm just the only one who's clueless, but so our letter doesn't say anything about the 5-acre minimum that Kristen mentioned, so can we talk about that?
50 acres,
50
point-
acres.
0.5,
So you need to have,
0.5 mile.
no, there's a 5, so you have to have 50 acres contiguous,
Right.
or if you're going to break it up, the minimum lot size is 5 acres.
Gotcha.
Did I explain that right, Kristen?
yeah, and if you look at kind of an analysis, I mean, whether we take our whole town center or if you take pieces, I mean, even if you take that whole Willow Street parcel at the end, that doesn't even equal 5 acres. So, I mean, it just really limits your ability to do infill, where you might have uses that, and then starts to, you have to arbitrarily put in things next to it that you might not even want for housing, but you have to add it because it meets this arbitrary
Right, you
number.
have these piecemeal
So,
buildings
If you're
stacked in.
creating housing, you're creating housing. Why does it matter what the minimum size is?
Right.
And this would all occur within a half a mile of the MBTA station. So you guys in the downtown area, you're going to be in for a big change.
It's just untenable. The problem is, if we do accept it, right, and we say, well, we don't really have any space, somebody could buy up a couple of
That's right.
houses and put up some ginormous building, and that's...
Now we have unlimited density downtown in our bylaw, so a
Well,
developer
well,
could-
just in the business
Yeah.
district.
But they could come in and they could buy up 3, 4, 5, maybe a whole block, maybe from Willow Street to
Right.
Union Street,
And if they're
and put
in
in
that...
high-rises.
In that TOD, then yes, they can buy properties, and
So the potential is really
It's frightening.
explosive.
it's frightening. Yep. It would destroy our town as we know it. That's really worrisome.
Why would anybody vote for that?
Well, I think Kristen just pointed it out. I mean, I don't know how much of these state grants, this infrastructure or housing grants that we've utilized. I have no idea.
So we would have to use eminent domain. I mean, this is what they're driving. I mean, seriously, how else would you do it?
There's no requirement that the community actually create the housing. It's only that they create the zoning that would allow the housing to be developed in the
Yeah,
market.
but that's,
So
that,
well,
there
there you
wouldn't be
go.
any requirement for us to take land or anything like
It's
that.
scary.
no, not us, you're right, not us. But if a developer bought 2 contiguous houses in the TOD, then he could, by right, put up, what, 15 units on an acre? I
That's a
mean,
minimum. They're looking for a
Yeah,
minimum.
and if you talk about the size of the development that's going up in Max Shoe, that that will pretty much
you get.
wreak havoc in our town very quickly.
Mr. Chairman, can I just have one last comment?
What's that?
Duke wants to speak.
Duke?
Duke Seaver, Essex Street.
Oh, sorry about that.
Why can't you use the gas line all the way down to, in back of the high school, the junior high, or the grade school? You can get that whole track down there. At one time, they were talking about putting up a shopping center or something like that and hooking it up to Patton Drive or something like that. That land is usable.
It's not ours.
Hmm?
I believe we only have a right-of-way on it. It's not ours.
We've got an easement for right
We've got an
away.
easement
For the
for right-of-way.
gas,
There's
It's the gas
The gas
companies.
company owns the land. We wouldn't be able to build in that.
Well, I don't know why. They have gas in the city streets. We run over the gas lines.
Kristen, did you, I think Kristen wanted to say one more thing.
Kristen, do you have one more comment?
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. I don't think any of us are for this. It's just trying to figure out how do we try to get it at least to respect planning and local control versus like them telling us this is your one size fits all. So that's really, I think, the biggest message we just want to try to send. And we're, 175 communities are trying to figure out how to do this, and we're all together. So it is kind of scary, but I think we can do it somehow.
And the short time that they are giving also, it's a very compressed. It doesn't allow for actual
Planning.
policy analysis.
You should put that in the letter.
I guess, and Kristen, if I can ask you one question before you're done, is there anything else that, from what you've heard tonight, that you might add into this that you think is relevant?
I think you should definitely mention 5-acre minimums, that's a problem. You should recognize the housing you have been creating with the project that off Willow and the other projects that are not necessarily 15 units an acre, but you should make a blanket statement in the beginning to say that Hamilton's been playing their part. We have been developing housing opportunities in the Commonwealth. There's a lot of communities that haven't. And we have been doing a pretty good job for a community like ours. And if there's anything in master planning that you guys have done in the past that you can point to say, we've been looking at this and building consensus around housing, and that, we understand we want it near commuter, but there's these other areas of towns that are also work for our type of community that should be considered.
Right. I think in our kind of affordable housing plan, I remember what the new one is, but the last one was about 14 units a year is what our goal was. We never met it, but that was our goal. I can't remember the last iteration of it.
The last iteration is still 14 units.
Is it the same?
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Kristen.
time.
This is a pretty aggressive.
Yes. We didn't even talk about the schools and the effect on the schools.
So if this goes through, would the zoning just be automatically changed, or we would have some?
Have to adopt
It requires the town to adopt the zoning,
Right,
but we'd have to do it at next year's town meeting.
right, but we would be like, here's this warrant article, we have to vote it, right? I mean, like, what happens if the town says no?
There are a list of 4 or 5 grants, big money grants, that we wouldn't be eligible for.
Right, we'd lose all that.
We'd lose that. and-
State funding.
And actually, I've been on a handful of meetings where Secretary Keneally or others in his department have attended to try to kind of explain and answer questions about the regulations, and they've intimated that just because they've mentioned 4 or 5 grants, that doesn't mean those are the only grants that would be.
Right, could be a
in jeopardy.
whole bunch that are tied to it.
You
Yeah,
don't, and you don't have to build it to get the grants, you just have to
Town
approve.
doesn't have to build anything, it just has to provide zoning.
just have to
that would-
change your
would
zoning.
allow the-
But then you're at risk for it.
Right, if it's as of right,
Right.
then you
Won't
have
happen.
no control
Right.
over the
Responsible.
evolution of your town, which is really concerning.
Right, then you're at risk if, Asbury Street Motors, and Sergeant Auto, and all that stuff decide to sell that side of the block. That could be, could make Mike Palazzola's place look like a cottage.
Virginia?
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can? Great, okay. I've been listening to this particular conversation, and I don't understand the acronyms for the particular committees who put this ideas together and get it out here, other than it started somehow with the MBTA. Could you, one, tell me if that's the case?
Yeah, Virginia, it was, the impetus was a state law that was passed a year and a half ago that required that the Mass Bay Transit Authority, in working with the Department of Housing and Community Development, develop regulations that would allow this. So DHCD is Department of Housing and Community Development, and then the MBTA. They had to develop the regulations that would allow for by right dense zoning near commuter stations.
Okay. I did not realize that had actually been passed. I had heard it was being tossed around because the state would like to be able to control the zonings, or be able to get the affordable housing, I guess, among other things out there across the street. But I did not know they did that already. But thank you.
No problem.
Down.
So was it 175 citizen towns that are MBTA communities?
Yeah.
Did I
Yeah.
read that?
Yeah,
Do we need to vote on any of this, or can we just authorize you, the Joe, to make the edits to it and send it off?
I was hoping.
It's not really
that's what you
policy.
guys- Because it's gonna be a little bit difficult to
I make
coordinate all your
a
signatures, so-
motion that we allow Joe to edit as per our conversation this evening and send this off to the parties that are stakeholders.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Joe, I'm sure you'll read it through again. There are a couple of awkward sentences or sort of going nowhere sentences. The only word that struck me as a little, I'd rather see a different word there, and my colleagues can opt to continue with that word. But an explosion of school children, I think something like an overwhelming influx of children.
What,
I don't know.
where, can
is
you
that,
say
Rosie?
where you're reading?
Let's see,
Up at the top, kind of, dramatic
Yeah,
increase
it's
in
more, I
traffic.
remember the area.
an
she's talking-
explosion. I like the word an overwhelming in number, an overwhelming influx. It's probably down a little bit. It's in the complaints, dramatic, let's see, increased demands, blah, 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 blah. Where is it? I know I read it. It's here somewhere. Let me see if it's
Yeah, it's a second bullet point. Under the bullet point that says the fiscal impact on the community is incalculable.
Yeah.
The sub-bullet is an explosion of school-age children, so,
Is an influx.
influx of,
overwhelming influx, I
Yep,
think.
that
is
sounds good. I'm
yeah.
okay with that.
Strong, and it really
Okay.
focuses on this, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good letter, Joe.
it was a team effort, so I'll
Yeah.
pass it
Are you
along.
planning on sending it out?
Hopefully tomorrow,
Okay.
if I can make these changes and get it out.
So,
I appreciate the input and the assistance, because it's,
Joe, do you want me to tell you those two areas?
Sure.
So on the last sort of clear circle, let's see,
it's highly
The word is
suggested.
highly suggested, state reconsider its
Yeah,
approach.
accordingly, the state should, that's sort of a go nowhere.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a dangling phrase.
And then there was one other,
Should we just remove that? or-
yeah, it
just
seems like
start
a,
it out, yeah.
yeah. And there is one more that I found, this makes it easy to sort of do it, blah, 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 blah.
There's,
Okay, and in the as noted above, on the, I believe it's the, let's see, which page is it? It's in the I offer the following comments on the proposed regulations. So it's in the first one, and as noted above, just the second sentence, the regulations as written would further impact, take out that "and." The regulations as written would further impact Hamilton. Do you see what I mean?
Yep, remove the "and."
Yeah, just remove that "and." I read that, see, this is what I do on the train on the way home.
I don't see what you're saying. I mean, I thought I
Says,
found a
as
paragraph.
noted above.
Okay,
Hamilton
I offer the
Road.
following comments as
Note
noted.
above him, okay, yep, okay.
Okay, the second sentence,
Yep.
just take out that "and" prior to Hamilton.
Oh, right, okay, thank you,
Those were the only typos that I saw.
thank you.
There's a couple of missed
Or is it
periods.
supposed to say Wenham and Hamilton?
Well, but we can't speak
Yeah,
for
we don't
another
know.
town.
Under
Well, but
water,
then it goes on to talk about both communities.
right?
Well,
I don't care.
that's,
I'll leave that to Joe.
well, that comment there is relative to the fact that we share the downtown and the commuter rail station, so that the 750 minimum in each community would actually double the impact to us.
No, right, I get the purpose of it, I was just.
Under
the grammar.
water, and since we're on it, water and wastewater infrastructure, the last solid kind of square bullet point there, the required density, projects economically viable needs a period. And then the next open bullet point there, the law's requirements appear at conflict with chapter 40B, there's a period missing at the end of that sentence.
Thank you.
Group effort, huh?
And the same with health of the watershed in the first bullet point. I guess just go through and make sure you
Yeah, I'm
got
gonna make
either
sure all
all periods or
periods are-
no periods at the end of your bullet points.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. I think I did notice that. You're good, you're paying more
Most have them, but not all.
Yeah, it's either all or nothing.
Give
I guess.
consideration for communities that lack adequate water or wastewater instead of credit. Okay,
So there you go,
But you-
Joe, it's all ready to go.
sorry, do we vote? You made a motion, do we
I
vote?
made a motion. I don't think you
Seconded
had.
it.
You
Okay.
seconded it,
Just
okay.
a
Yep.
second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay. All right, the next thing on our agenda is a lease for Pilgrim Hall. So part of our discussion we had was finding another space for town hall that was a better suit for us now that we sort of have issues here of non-compliance and other issues. So we had looked at a location over at Pilgrim Hall, and Joe negotiated a very favorable lease.
I would say.
Yeah, so this has been reviewed by town council. There are a couple of small points that I'll take back to Gordon Conwell. But what was in your packets, I think I sent you both versions, the red line and the clean, but what's in your packets at least is the clean version. Just, I don't know that we necessarily need a vote yet tonight. I've had it on there just in case, but just wanted to get some direction from the board. Determine that, yes, that I'm headed in the right direction with this, and that we should try to finalize and have it ready for you to vote and sign, so that if this is the way we're going, it is certainly our recommendation to pursue this option. If this is the way we're going, we could potentially.
There's not much risk in this for us.
Right.
It's very little risk. We
No,
could
we're
move, we
out
could
a
move
little
one office over there, we could
financial
move the
with
entire.
setting up some things,
Yeah,
but
we can move one office over there to start, I mean, we can move multiple, I mean, we could do it at our leisure to move over there, right? It doesn't have to be all done all at once.
Well, right, we could, I think that we'd probably try to move.
We
as
could put
much of-
Tim over there.
Well, initially, we thought we would at least get the second floor over there, but the more we've talked about it internally, I think we'd like to try to get everybody over there.
Okay. I think it's
And-
a bigger discussion about that. The only thing I saw in here, Joe, in terms of the language was, I didn't see a termination clause in here.
Well, the contract is for 2 years with 2 6 months, so unless,
Yeah, renewal options.
and
I didn't see a termination, I also know if a year into this thing, we just said like, hey, we're gonna do something else.
Right.
I know we're not, it's only $1 we're tied to, but it's weird that there's not a termination clause of some
yeah,
sort.
even if it is just $1,
It's $50 for utilities.
right?
For the water treatment plant. So Joe, I just don't know if it needs a termination clause. Once again, not a lot of risk in it, but,
Well, we're not out anything, right, if we do terminate, because it's only.
no, correct, but sometimes you just wanna get out from under it. If you're not gonna use it, you don't wanna be liable for it, so you wanna say, hey, I'm terminating a lease and I'm canceling my insurance.
Well, yeah, right, we can't really do
We're
that
not paying
without,
heat anymore. or-
without cause.
Yep.
If you open yourself up.
That's one I saw, but I think further discussion that we need to have and reconstitute town hall building committee to talk about what it actually means, but in terms of signing the lease and getting this going, we're at very little risk, and I think you should, in my opinion, we should proceed with a version to sign next meeting, which might be next
Do you expect?
Monday.
I might not have it next Monday. Might be looking at a little further out now. We're close, but I don't think we're that close.
Do you expect to be expending funds from this fiscal year or next?
So the funds would be from what was left over from the previous appropriation for this.
For that,
purpose.
right, okay.
So we have, I don't want to misstate it. We have ample funds to be able to handle the move, according to Tim. So when we bring the lease back to you, we'll be able to tell you what that is and how much we expect.
Yeah.
We do have to we do have to make some alterations to the building as part of this. But those are at our expense.
Yeah.
So.
A side related note, paperless initiative.
Yeah.
You know, I like to raise that point once in a while.
We need to get it, we need to get on it.
We need to get moving on it.
Yep, I agree.
And this is a perfect time if we are moving stuff
Right.
to try and take care of it, so we're not moving it twice or whatever.
Joe, I just have a question about the IT. It says that we're not to interfere with their IT. How do we plan to manage that? We'll have
Fortunately, our IT has already met with their IT, and they're starting to work that out, but we're gonna run our own fiber over there, it looks like. Andy's working on that right now, so. We have a fiber loop here in town already. Andy's getting quotes to be able to extend our fiber loop over to the building that we'd have.
Oh, nice.
And it wouldn't interact with theirs.
Two separate networks, basically.
Yeah, okay, I was just wondering the logistics of that. Okay. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
Any other discussion?
That's good.
Okay,
So when do we install the roller rink upstairs?
Go ahead.
The roller rink.
We're going to have dance parties up there.
Back to having dance parties.
schedule for the future select board meeting, so we have a schedule in here.
There is one date that we need to discuss.
That Labor Day.
Yeah, so it's not just Labor Day. The day after
Voting,
Labor
right?
Day is Election Day, so normally, I had originally started to put that down there for Tuesday, September 9th or whatever it is, but, or 7th or whatever it is, but we can't have a meeting on Election Day, so
So Wednesday.
you need to pick Wednesday or do 2 meetings in a row or something. It's up to the board.
I vote for a Wednesday.
Who would we bump on the Wednesday? Zoning?
No, zoning usually
Concom?
meets on
Or
Tuesday, so it'd probably be
Fincom?
Concom.
Concom?
Yeah. But they're, I think, were they every other? I don't know. It's hard to keep up.
And yeah, Concom doesn't always meet twice a month. It depends on what's on their schedule.
Right, exactly.
I think their
Sometimes-
regular meeting's the 3rd week of the month, so.
I think you're
So
right.
that wouldn't even,
Wouldn't interfere, probably.
so you'd be talking about Wednesday, September 7th, if you wanted to do the Wednesday.
Let's put it in there tentatively. If something comes up, we can alter.
Sorry, Joe, what election is on the 6th?
State primary.
State.
Primary. All right, so the 7th right now.
Right.
So July 5th is a Tuesday. Just so you know that as well, too, because July 4th is a Monday.
Right.
Right.
And then also November 21st. So is that wrong?
No, that should be a Monday.
That should be a Monday.
Monday is, that's a typo. That should say Monday.
Yeah.
The Tuesday, November 1?
Yeah,
Is
it
a
should be
Monday.
It's Monday,
Monday,
November 21st.
November 21st.
So you'd have one Tuesday meeting and one Wednesday meeting. The rest would all be on the regular Mondays on the schedule.
Okay. Well, we could also meet, there's 3, yeah, I mean,
We got 3.
there's 3 Mondays in
Right.
August. We could also meet the 29th of August instead of meeting the 7th of September.
That's right. You good?
Okay, so the Concom meets the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays.
So that's his first.
Yeah, so that should be fine.
I'll just do the 7th then, okay. All right, so, thank you for putting that together. And then the last
Can I
thing.
just have a quick
yes.
vote on that, just to make sure you're all,
And I have a motion to approve the select board schedule for the next, oh, I lost
As
it here.
4 months.
Next 4 months with the
6 months.
modification.
6 months, sorry.
6 months
well,
with
it's more than that. It's all the way till December. Yeah.
with the modification of the September 7th date, Wednesday, September 7th.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed?
Thank you.
All right, the last thing on the agenda is just a quick discussion, but I had a discussion with a vendor who did a very successful event at the Patton Homestead, and is interested in, the Essex County Brewing Company is interested in doing multiple events now in town, so it was successful. And their issue is that they do this as a help the communities, PR campaign, get their name, get their brand out there, but if every time he pulls a permit, if he pulls 20 permits a year and we charge him $100 every time he pulls a permit, it's like $2,000 to do, 20 events. And we don't, it's really about the process, and it's about us being a profit center for us. So he said in other communities, he can do because he can pull a permit up to 30 times per year, up to 30 days. So in other communities, they do a yearly fee. But they basically say, hey, if you want to do it one time, you're $100, but if you want to get a permit for the year, because it's the same insurance, same guy, same regulations, you pay like a flat fee, whether it's $300, $400, but it's not like $2,000, right? So, I think if we want to promote businesses to come to town, we have to sort of be flexible and reasonable. So, this is just a discussion to have, but it was an interesting thought, so I want to bring it back, because it would stop him from doing events if he had to sort of, he has to sell a lot of beers to make $2,000, right? So it's like him selling, so it's a big nut to pay that kind of money, so.
Do we have any idea what other towns pay, or has there been any?
He gave me some examples, but one was like, I think like Topsfield was like $300 or $400 for the season, so.
Seems a little low.
I wonder what the venue
Why don't we
was.
do a little research ourselves and
Yeah.
find out?
It's largely
Should.
it's largely a transactional fee, and typically,
It's paying staff to process the permits
right,
and
so
stuff.
you don't really, we don't, if you're only gonna have to process it once, the idea would be that wouldn't, you're not creating that level of work. If I could just offer, I know that this vendor is coming in here for a one-day license at your next meeting, and actually at the Patton Homestead to help with a weekly music night that Holly's set up out there.
A music night?
Yeah, there'll be a small concert outside with, people can bring lawn chairs and stuff and sit out and listen to music, and so the beer service would be there to complement
nice.
that event for just a couple hours and then close up early. She wants to do it weekly for a period of weeks. He'd like to participate in all, but he's only applied for the one at this point, so.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
think
so yeah, he's looking for a seasonal, it won't be for him, but we're looking for a community seasonal license. But he was willing to donate money back, so he's basically saying, hey, I'll donate. He's usually like once he gets his community building, so he usually, when he has the thing, he donates back some profits, so he donates back 10% of the profits to the Patton Homestead. So there you go, Sean, raise some money for the Patton Homestead.
There you go.
How much is it for a one-day license?
$100.
Just a flat
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, but if you're allowed to take out 30 a year, so at that, you'd be spending $3,000 if you,
That's really one transaction.
And what does it cost us to have somebody process that and check insurance and
it's,
all of that?
it's not $100.
Well, but we are.
It's not $100. I would say that, if the board wants to consider this at an upcoming meeting, I'd be a little cautious. You have a couple of other groups that take out regular licenses for their own properties. I'd urge that maybe it might be something you look at for things that contribute to the town or are partnered with the town, as opposed to just a flat fee, so otherwise you might get,
Well, I think would
other
be.
groups coming in to look for that discount.
Well, we are talking liquor
discount.
licenses too, though, so we need to be careful. And I think it would be prudent to really do some research and see what other towns propose. So, because I see the argument and it makes sense, but I don't want the town to be at a disadvantage in any way. And I'm not saying there is a disadvantage. I want us to do some research and sort of think about it.
And we can also, just kind of move slowly, maybe start with half a dozen one-day licenses to start and see how that goes maybe, and then go from there. Maybe have them buy half a year at a time.
But at a discount?
Yeah. Just to see what happens, but
You know, I just because, and this may sound sort of, you know, I just want us to be careful about
Yes.
this and not make it a free-for-all for liquor licenses, because this is still a new concept for us to have liquor licenses at the Pet and Homestead. I just want us to really think about it. And again, I'm not saying that I'm not for it. I just think we should think about it and really analyze.
Yeah, I don't want it to be a free fall either, and I want it to
Yeah.
be done well and safely.
Yeah.
I just think that, yeah, if somebody's going to donate to the community as well as
Yep.
build community, that there should be some sort of economy of scale to
Yeah.
the number of
Yeah.
events they want to have and
I-
promote that. So I think we can
that
find
also
it.
be codified?
Yeah, I was going to say, but it wouldn't be part of the policy to have them
Kickbacks.
Individual, it'd have to be the policy for anybody, not just for a certain vendor, right?
right. But,
Yeah.
Kickback.
so then,
I wouldn't say that word.
It's linkage.
Yes, linkage, that's right.
okay. So there, it would actually, we would be sort of participating in the profits?
Yes, right.
Okay. As part of our policy?
Yes, for our policy.
Okay.
I like that.
Basically, you'd be waiving a fee
For a
to
group,
allow
for a season,
donation.
for a seasonal license. I don't
Or
think you do for the-
You'd
yeah,
basically be waiving a fee that you're already charging for
for,
the use of a
And
donation to
if they pay in
an entity.
advance, that's also an advantage for the town.
right, for the year, right? They pay in January for the year, and the town gets the money, puts in the bank. So I sent you all with what his writing was. I don't think his writing is where we're gonna end up, but it's a good starting point.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an interesting concept.
I have several things for you to sign before you leave.
All right, Darcy,
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn.
I think that's a great
I'll
motion.
second that.
Any further
After
discussion?
consideration, we
Considered it for a minute.
Any further discussion?
Nah.
See everybody Saturday.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you all.
You were